I'm Olivia and I'm a gender affirming voice teacher. Happy New Year. It is January 2023. Around this time of year, like a lot of people, I start thinking about new habits that I want to get into my routine and changes that I want to make in my life. As a singer, making practicing more of a priority is always something that's on my list. And if you're watching this video, you might be feeling the same way. So today, I'm going to be sharing some different tools that you can use to help build a practice routine that you can stick to this year on your way to finding your voice. When you first start to build a habit, it's really important to start small. Having manageable and realistic expectations of yourself is going to be key. If you start with goals that make you feel overwhelmed, you're much more likely to just skip the whole thing altogether because you'll never get there. It's such a huge, overwhelming thing that's ahead of you. So you might have a goal of vocal feminization, maybe having a more feminine perceived voice this year. Well, that's a pretty big goal. And if you just put that on your list and say, go, get there, that can feel, so big. But if you break that down into smaller pieces or having a small goal each day, that can really help keep you on track toward that larger goal. Personally, I'm really guilty of making a big list of things that I want to accomplish and then looking at that list and kind of freaking out because it just seems so big and how can I ever get there? But I have these moments of excitement where I put it all down on paper. I have these grand ideas. But then that motivation kind of tends to slip away as the days go by and I'm just kind of in the nitty-gritty of doing the work. It doesn't seem as exciting. That motivation kind of leaves. So when you're creating your goals, your instinct might be to go big. Okay, I've got this big goal, so I'm going to practice 1 hour a day, 7 days a week. And I'm going to get to my goal. But if you're coming from a place where you're not practicing at all yet, let's say, and you want to go straight from that into practicing an hour every day, that can be kind of jarring and that can be hard to maintain because it's such a big shift. In the book Atomic Habits, James Clear talks about building a habit by keeping it under 2 minutes. So that means if you want to build a practice habit, you literally start by practicing 2 minutes a day. I'm not kidding. So the idea here is that you build a habit of showing up for your practice. So if it's always on your mind, you build this 2-minute habit. Okay, I can do lip trills for a minute and then I can work on resonance for 1 minute. And then it's always on your mind. I've got to get my practice in. And then once that habit is established, you can start to extend that practice. Okay, I can actually spare 5 minutes today, 10 minutes today. Once you're already there and in the moment of it, you can get to work. Keeping your practices short isn't just good for maintaining a habit. It's also good for your vocal health. It's important to remember that your vocal cords are muscles. So in the same way that it wouldn't be good to go from not working out at all to going to the gym 2 hours a day. It's not good to go from 0 practice to 2 hours a day of practice. So if you're going to the gym that much, your body is going to be exhausted, your muscles are sore, you might even hurt yourself because you might be going too hard in a way that isn't healthy for you. So the same goes for the voice. It's important to build up that habit slowly and build your endurance and your strength in your vocal cords. Time boxing is another tool that I love to use. The idea here is just that you set aside a certain time and set a certain time limit for whatever task you're doing. So that means that you could look at your calendar. If you've got a calendar, I use Google Calendar. If you have a really predictable schedule. Let's say you work 9 to 5 every day. So maybe it would make sense for you to put on your calendar every day from 5:30 to 5:40, you're going to get your practice in. Maybe your schedule isn't as predictable. So maybe on Sunday nights, you can look at your calendar for the week and say each day where you're going to get your 10-minute practice in. So when I put something on my calendar, I'm much more likely to get that done. I'm much more likely to want to keep that appointment to myself than if I have it written on a to-do list. A to-do list I can always push off until tomorrow, but when it's on my calendar, I've blocked off the time, I'm going to get it done. So the great thing about time blocking is that you set a certain amount of time so that when you're done, you're done. 10 minutes, that's what you've got to get what you need done. So that means it's really important to get rid of distractions. So if that means putting your phone in another part of the house, or putting your phone on do not disturb, disabling your apps, or whatever it takes to get a really focused 10-minute, 20-minute, whatever it is, practice in. James Clear also writes about habit stacking. We all have habits that we do all day long. A big chunk of our lives are just habits, things that we do all the time. So maybe that's making your coffee in the morning, brushing your teeth at night, whatever habits you have. So the idea with habit stacking is that you take that habit that you already are doing and you tack on the new habit. So let's say you're making your coffee in the morning. So you go into the kitchen, you start making your coffee, and while it brews, while you're standing there waiting for your coffee, you do a vocal warm-up. So in that time, you tack that on together. Or maybe at the end of the night, you've brushed your teeth, and before you get into bed, you tack on a little practice, 5-minute practice before you get into bed. You could also try using kind of a reward where you get to do something you like to do after you get your goal done. So after you practice, maybe that means you get to go on TikTok or social media for 10 minutes, or maybe you get to go eat a cookie, or whatever really feels like a great reward for you. Another tool that I personally love is a physical journal. So I'll use a journal to write the date, how long I practiced, what things I practiced, what felt good, what didn't feel good, what I want to continue working on the next day in my practice. And when I write things down, I just feel a huge satisfaction. I'm like crossing this thing off the list. I've done it. It's just like very satisfying and rewarding to me. But if a physical journal doesn't make sense for you, if you use your phone, use your notes app or a Google Doc, whatever, I know a lot of people don't like to carry around extra things, and you might be practicing in different places where you don't have your journal with you all the time. Using your phone is a great option. It's also great to keep a record of your practice and of your progress, because with voice work, it can feel a little slow moving when you're in the moment. Over the course of a couple days or over the course of a week, you might not feel like you're making huge strides or there's huge changes happening in your voice. But if you continue with the habit of journaling or keeping track of what you're doing, 6 months from now, when you look back at what you're practicing now, you're going to see a huge difference. You're going to remember, oh, wow, I remember when that concept didn't make a lot of sense to me, or I remember when I really couldn't get the sound quality that I can get now. So it's a way to remind yourself of where you've come from and how much progress you really have made. So these are all kind of personal ways that we can build habits, which work for some people, but for others, it's really important to have external motivators. So for some of you, finding a buddy to stay accountable with could be really helpful. So if you have somebody in your life who you feel really comfortable with, who maybe they're also working on vocal modification, you can be accountable with each other. If you don't have someone in your real life, reach out to someone online. There's so many people who would be interested in connecting in that way, practicing, who are in the same boat as you. So find someone on TikTok, on Instagram, on Reddit, where people are sharing their experience of voice modification. So you could text each other to say, oh, I just did my practice. Have you practiced yet today? Or you could share a practice log. Maybe you share a Google Doc where you both write what you've been doing. Or you could even set practice days to practice together. Maybe that's on Zoom, or maybe it is in person. once a week or something like that, where you can get together and really check in. Another great external motivator is taking lessons. When you have a regular lesson coming up, let's say you have just 6 days until your next lesson, you might be more likely to prioritize that practice when you know, okay, I've got these certain things that I need to get done by that day, or things that I want to explore by that day so I can talk to my teacher about it. Taking regular lessons can also make your practice more efficient because your teacher, someone like me, can give you specific homework assignments and specific exercises to really focus on what you are looking to get out of your practice. Because it's really easy when you're looking at videos online and you're grabbing all this different information and you're not quite sure what applies to you and whether or not you're doing those things in the most effective ways. And if you're interested in learning more about private lessons, or if you're interested in signing up for a voice consultation with me, there is a link down in the description. So I hope you try one or two of these habit building tools this year, and I hope they help you stay more consistent with your practice. Remember to start small, and if one of these tools doesn't work for you, throw it out. Try something else. Not every one of these tools is going to work for everybody. It's also important to remember that if you get into a good routine and then you fall off of that routine, that is okay. We all have work, family, friends, mental health considerations, financial considerations, all these things that can take precedence over our voice work. So give yourself some grace with this, some wiggle room with this, and just try to find a balance that works for you with all the things that are going on in your life. So let me know how these tools go for you down in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.